We're coming to the end of January now, but the weather is still so chilly, so one can't help but seek warmth. Whether your preferred method is cafe hopping, bundling up in layers, or seeking the company of lovely people, I'm sure this novel will only help with warming up your heart and soul, as it's the perfect blend of all three. The healing season of Pottery follows a broadcast writer who quits her high-intensity job to take a year off work. Think something similar to my year of rest and relaxation, except no pills, and frankly no relaxation, because this girl spends the entire time unable to relax, overthinking, and focusing on all the parts where she did something wrong. I mean, relatable. This one is for all the overthinkers who can never fully relax, who always think, oh, maybe I should have done something differently here, or maybe I should have done something differently there. So Jungmin is always feeling the pressure of expectations, whether those be from family or from society, but mostly from herself. Jungmin is really for those who deal with high pressure jobs and always think to themselves, what more could I have done? One day she pops into a cafe, or at least she thinks it's a cafe, but to her embarrassment it's actually a pottery workshop. But far from judging her in any way, the owner actually just makes her a cup of coffee, and it's the best cup of coffee that Jungmin has ever had. The secret? Love. Oh no, but not really. That too. But mostly it's the fact that the coffee is paired very specifically to ceramics. And ceramics and coffee have that very natural feel. There is a special kind of feel to drinking something of a ceramic cup that has been handmade rather than simply store-bought. And Jungmin completely falls in love with it, and so on a whim she agrees to partake in the pottery workshops, when to herself she starts thinking, really, how irresponsible is that? You've quit an incredibly high-paying job, an incredibly high-pressure job, just to take a year off work doing nothing, and now you've decided to, on a whim, pick up an expensive hobby of doing pottery and committing yourself to some kind of clay building when you have had no artistic experience, and really, who do you think you are? But she decides to give it a chance. And the novel tells the story of her picking herself back up and finding happiness and comfort in the lovely people in the workshop, so lovely people check, and the warmth of discovering forgiveness for yourself and for the mistakes that you think you've made, so heartwarming and cafe hopping. Tick. And lastly, of course, the novel touches on themes of mental health and trauma and familial obligations, so layers. Tick. Healing season of Pottery is for you if you want a hug. It's for you if you want to feel unrushed, if you want to escape the hustle of daily life, and just for a moment to lose yourself in the pages where truly nothing is unhurried. You really do feel the seasons passing from autumn all the way through Christmas, and the pacing of the novel feels very apt, given that there are no dramatic events. This is not an action-based novel. Here you won't find melodramatic plot twists and turns and people dying and, you know, people popping up out of the past, although there is an element to that here. Rather, the excitement and thrill of the novel comes from life itself and the interactions that it may bring and the small discoveries we make, whether it's the chemistry of interacting with someone who actually gets you, or the feeling you get when you see someone genuinely supporting you and cheering for you and rooting for you. Or maybe it's the excitement of piecing together the puzzles of Jungmin's life as we find out more about her and why she quit her job, and we also find out more about the workshop members on the way too, because it takes effort for Jungmin to open herself up to them, to listen to their stories, to in turn be vulnerable. And it really is like putting together a jigsaw puzzle on a rainy day. It's this unhurried process of assembling the missing elements and seeing the true story come out. And this is where the excitement comes in. The excitement of life and the life stories that people tell. Like I said, this is very much not an action-based novel, but a character-based one. Introspection, flashbacks over hearty meals, beautiful scenes, picturesque scenes of the snow melting and the weather outside and the feeling of warmth emanating from doing something that you're truly passionate about, and of making a found family, like I said. So family and found family are two key tropes in this novel, and the happiness that comes from building a community for yourself, but also, most importantly, the happiness that comes from yourself. Happiness that comes not from other people, but from understanding yourself is, I think, a very special type of happiness, and one that is often underestimated. You see so many people, especially in the Western world, I feel, put pressure on having this massive group of friends, of being surrounded by people all the time. There's still that element of awkwardness that people are judging you if you go out for a meal by yourself, or if you enjoy spending time in your own company. People think, oh no, this poor person dining alone or eating lunch alone, and no one ever stops to think that maybe it's cool, maybe they're happy to just spend time in self-reflection and spend time by themselves. And I think that this is very much a story about that too, even though it's not explicitly mentioned, and I feel like this is an avenue that could have been explored in the novel further. The fact that Jungmin's character arc goes from self-loathing and judging herself for not being able to handle the job to understanding truly what she wants and coming to something of a peace with herself. Because I just think that that is one of the most interesting, fascinating character arcs to follow, because it's also one that we should seek in life. Focusing on decisions that are good for you, focusing on your perspective, that can be very important. And it must be acknowledged that for Jungmin, the company that she makes, this found family, is very important. They help bring her out of the self-imposed cave that she has put herself in, this constant cycle of judgment and negative self-talk. But it's not just about the people, it is really also about herself and the kind of steps that you may take in beginning to live a life which you think is worth living, and living a life where you are happy with yourself. And that's just something that we don't talk a lot, and something we don't talk enough about in books, I feel. Maybe it's because a lot of the plots are about other people and about the interaction with other people, and that's the case here too. But it's also nice to stumble upon novels where the focus is also on characters and their personal journeys and their personal development. Because isn't that inspiring, and isn't that something that we too can look towards? And of course, these kinds of novels are very distinct novels in that they require a certain type of mood and a certain type of atmosphere. These cozy novels are certainly very distinct in that. They're touching, yes, but they're not very deep or very novel in their messages. This is not some great mind-boggling work of literature that's going to astound you with its scope and with its writing. No, it's something very simple. It touches on simple subjects. It reminds us of simple principles, like enjoying the little joys in life. It's a touching novel, and it might be a novel for you if you're not looking for something that's very difficult, or something that's very like intellectually engaging, or something that feels pressuring to read, or something that is even draining. It just focuses on truly the small tiny things in life. Like how good it feels to sometimes just sit and think, or to eat a meal in the company of a friend, like with who you feel comfortable enough and you don't feel drained by their energy or by their presence. So in that regard, I think that these cozy novels do serve a purpose. They may not bring something new to the table, but they can certainly ensure that they come along at the right time for you and cheer up your mood. The writing is at times too unemotional here. Perhaps the issue is poor translation. I can certainly see some of the phrases in the original Korean because the translator attempts to do what I think personally is poor translation, which is when you spend a lot of when you put a lot of emphasis on keeping the language's original structure. the issue with that is that sometimes it just doesn't work in the language to which you're translating this novel, and it ends up feeling mechanical, like something is wrong, something is stilted. And I can definitely sense that in its original, the novel must be far more vivid and rich in its language, but in the English it comes off occasionally just simply unsuited to conveying a highly emotional novel because of its tone. It's strange to have an unemotional, distanced voice when passions are brewing up in Jungmin's heart as she discovers herself once more. Nonetheless, what is nice is that because the writing is not melodramatic at all, and neither is it complicated, it's just a very simple novel to read, and a novel to read, well, you can't read it quickly because it's a very unrushed novel, but it's just a good novel to help pick you up. I think it's also a novel where you won't feel the pressure of, oh, I'm reading, I need to read a certain type of way. In that regard, maybe it's good for those coming out of a reading slump. It's not a complex plot, they're really not that complex characters, although they are interesting. So many more avenues could have been explored, and yet, Healing Season of Pottery is really quite healing. If you feel in need of a simple story with simple messages, then this is the book for you. Simplicity is the message I think I'm trying to convey with this review. That is what I would that is how I would sum this book up if I had to describe it in one word. A novel that pulls at your heartstrings, makes you smile, and one that isn't too difficult or challenging, one that you can pick up even when you're tired after a full day of work or drained by social interactions. And sometimes that's just all you need. I was given an advanced copy of this novel in exchange for an honest review, and I'm very grateful because it seems that this is exactly what I needed to help me get through a difficult start to the new year. It's been a stressful few weeks, so turning to the pages of a very simple story was a lot easier than if I had to be analyzing an incredibly complex plot and figuring out absurdism and the Myth of Sisyphus, which is my other current read. The novel comes out January 30th in the UK, and it's already out in the US. Found family, self-discovery, creativity, and mindful living. If that sounds like the perfect recipe, then the Healing Season of Pottery is for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.